A pregnancy test today takes about 2 minutes and a strip of plastic. You pee on it, you wait, a line appears, or it does not. Simple, private, done in your own bathroom. Now go back roughly 3,500 years, to a mudbrick house on the Nile, and a woman still needed an answer to the exact same question, with none of that technology. What she had instead was barley, wheat, and a jar. The instructions survive on the Berlin Papyrus, an Egyptian medical text dated to around 1300 BCE. A woman urinated on 2 batches of grain over several days. If the barley sprouted first, the prediction was a boy. If the wheat sprouted first, a girl. If neither sprouted, she was not pregnant at all. It sounds like folklore, and in the sex prediction, it mostly was. But in 1963, researchers actually tested the method in a lab and found something strange. Urine from pregnant women did measurably speed up germination more often than urine from women who were not pregnant, likely because of elevated hormone levels. An ancient guess had accidentally landed on a real biological signal, 4,000 years before anyone understood what a hormone was. Confirming the pregnancy was only the beginning. Egyptian medicine took female health seriously enough to write an entire specialized text about it, the Kahun Gynaecological Papyrus, composed around 1800 BCE and now considered the oldest surviving medical document dealing specifically with women. It covers fertility, contraception, and how to diagnose complications, including one especially strange method: inserting an onion and checking, the next morning, whether the woman's breath smelled of it. If it did, her body was considered open and fertile. If not, something was blocking the passage. Physicians were reasoning about internal anatomy through smell, because dissection of the living was obviously not an option, and this was the closest workaround available. Pregnancy itself was treated as dangerous, because it was. Maternal and infant mortality were brutally high, and Egyptian households responded with layers of protection that were part medicine, part religion, with no real boundary between the two. 2 deities did most of the work. Taweret, depicted as an upright pregnant hippopotamus with lion's claws and a crocodile's back, guarded women through pregnancy and labor. Bes, a dwarf god with a lion's mane and a protruding tongue, specifically deterred evil spirits from a household with a newborn. Amulets, small carved figurines, and painted images of both gods have been found across Egyptian domestic sites, meaning ordinary homes, not just temples, were arming themselves against whatever was believed to threaten a birth. And then there is the birth brick. In 2001, archaeologist Joseph Wegner, excavating a Middle Kingdom site at South Abydos, uncovered a mud brick dating to roughly 1750 BCE, painted with a scene of a mother holding her newborn, flanked by protective figures including Hathor. It is the only confirmed example of an Egyptian birth brick ever found, and it matches something Egyptian medical texts describe: women squatting on a pair of bricks during labor, using them as a support to give birth upright rather than lying down, a position modern obstetricians have since confirmed can genuinely ease delivery. Some texts and tomb depictions suggest that for at least part of Egyptian society, a woman gave birth outside the main house entirely, in a lightweight structure or pavilion set up specifically for the purpose. That detail is debated among Egyptologists, since evidence for a dedicated, physically separate birth building is thinner than older scholarship assumed. What is well documented is the ritual seriousness of the whole event: spells recited during labor, protective amulets tied around the mother, and a recovery period afterward treated as its own vulnerable phase, requiring continued magical and medical care, not just physical rest. None of this was separated into science on one side and superstition on the other, the way we would sort it now. A grain test rooted in a real hormonal shift sat right next to a household god shaped like a hippopotamus, and Egyptian physicians saw no contradiction in relying on both. They were working with the tools available to a civilization that had no microscopes and no germ theory, just careful, repeated observation, passed down and written onto papyrus so someone else could use it later. That is not so different from what a pregnancy test does now. It just took a jar of barley to get there first.